Hey everyone, welcome to the Wheels to Walking podcast, a podcast with a guy in a wheelchair and a guy not in a wheelchair.
What up? Actually, it's a guy and a girl in a wheelchair and a guy not in a wheelchair today.
Oh yeah, let me redo that. Welcome to the Wheels to Walking podcast, where we got two people in a wheelchair and one guy not in a wheelchair.
Oh shit, I'm outnumbered. Well, kinda. AJ, two people not in wheelchairs. Okay, we're equal.
All right, Jesse, what's up, girl? How you doing?
Hey, I'm so glad to be here.
This is our first guest ever on the podcast.
It's so special that it's me.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, normally we don't do guests because one, guests are hard to coordinate. Two, sometimes it takes a long time to warm up with guests. And three, we usually always do it in person. But luckily, we're doing this all over Zoom right now. And Jesse and Andrew and I already have a relationship because, as you guys have probably seen before, she's been a part of a couple of our videos. And will probably continue to be in videos in the future. So get to know Jessie. She's a cool girl. Check her out on her Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram.
Instagram. It's for your grandmas. Yeah,
it's the gram for grandmas.
Yeah.
Instagram.
Jesse, so before we start, go ahead and give everybody just a little quick spiel, who you are, what you do, and why they need to listen.
So I am the director of Wheel With Me Foundation. I'm working to build a transitional facility for spinal cord injury survivors, and I teach people how to use their obstacles as opportunity and to get them to really deep dive into their obstacles and see that there's a lot of lessons to learn from that, and that's where growth happens to get towards your dreams.
Yeah, and if you guys want to get any kind of basically free coaching from Jessie, all you have to do is watch her Instagram stories every morning because she wakes up. Literally, she'll be with her Invisalign still in, at 6 a.m. telling everybody have a great day, set your goals, accomplish things. Yeah. And so if you want some extra fun little motivation, go check out her stories.
The power of positivity.
And how long ago was your injury again, Jesse?
It was 5 years in January.
Nice. Don't you guys have the same date, don't you? The same injury date or something?
Yes, we do. Right? The 18th of January.
Wow. Yeah, we were both hit on we both had our accidents on January 18, which is kind of crazy. Jessie was originally diagnosed as complete, but over the years after she got her mental health right and her physical health and started working out and going to school, her body was like, okay, cool, time to heal. Very similar to my story where I was diagnosed incomplete, but I pretty much got nothing back until 5-6 years later. And then I started noticing oh, cool, I'm not poisoning my body with drugs anymore, and I'm eating good foods, and I'm working out, so my body's starting to wake up. And I think that's a very interesting testament because I know in the beginning, I think a lot of people with spinal cord injuries are told, oh, if you don't heal within the first, 12 to 18 months, you're never going to get anything back. And both of our experiences have kind of been that that's not true.
They tell you that up to 2 years, what you get back is all you're ever going to get. And then after that, it's a wash. When in reality, I've had more return after that 2 years than I ever did before it. And so I started paralyzed from the middle of my chest down. And now I can crawl. I have almost full core strength. And I'm slowly building it. And it's that process of building it because we live in a world where you can get instant results. You can put your food in the microwave and in 30 seconds, it's hot. Instant gratification, and this injury is not something you can get that from.
Yeah, spinal cord injury is definitely something that forcibly teaches you patience. Takes your wrists and twist it and punches you in the back of the head and be like, you're going to wait for this, and you're going to work hard for it. It's like a bully.
It's weird how the word that is used medically is complete or incomplete, but I didn't realize this until talking to a bunch of different spinal cord injury folks that it's all kind of based on a test, right? So even if you're deemed complete, it's to me complete sounds oh, it's done. The word complete, it's completed. The injury is fully complete, but it's you can regain some things back, which is kind of crazy. Even Aaron Baker, he was a complete quad, but he's walking around a little bit and stuff, and he walked across the desert. So it's kind of a weird word to even use, the word complete for injuries, when it's you can gain stuff back.
Well, the way that they determine that as well is they stick their finger in your butt and they're like, all right, can you feel this? Can you clamp down on this? And if you can't, you're a complete injury, which is it's crap.
So Richard could clamp.
Right.
No, I can't. No, I can't clamp. I got a loose butthole. I don't have a tight butthole.
He can squeeze it.
That's why.
know.
That's
I'm
why
glad to
poop
know that
falls
Richard
out
can
all the
clamp.
time. Poop is always falling out of my butt. I got a loose butthole. How they tested me. They tested me with Q-tips and needles.
That's the Asia scale. So there's
Yeah.
the two things. You have complete and incomplete, which is, can you clamp on your butthole? Can you feel when a finger is in your butthole? And then you have the Asia scale where they go down your entire, they have these points. So like they have your hands, there's a couple fingers they do your face, and then they do all the way down your body. And it's a pinprick or a Q-tip soft touch. And it's like, can you feel this? Can you feel this? What scale can you feel this on? And that's what determines if you're Asia A to D, which D is the one that's most normal. A is you're complete. You have nothing below your level of injury.
Yeah, if you're an able-bodied person, you're probably a D or
You're not
maybe
even on the scale.
You're not even on the scale, but yeah, the more complete just means Asia A, and then Asia B, Asia C, Asia D. So I think if I remember correctly, I started off at like Asia B, like a middle B, high B, and I'm probably more towards a C now. I don't know. I haven't got it tested. I don't think that's, for me at least. I've never got it redone.
Well, because I was in the clinical trials, they put a neuroscaffold in my spinal cord when they fused my spine. And the idea is to reconnect the disconnect. And that itself, so many people go out to do clinical trials after a spinal cord injury. And I'm like, if that's what you want to do, do it. But keep in mind that you have to have an open mind and not put all your hope in this. Because I found myself at the 30-day, the 3-month, the 6-month, the 1 year, the 2 year, I would become super, super depressed around the time of the exam. Because I'm constantly being reminded of what I'm not getting, that I'm not recovering, that it's not working. And so I went to my 2-year exam and I came out T6 Asia A still. And then 2 months later, I started regaining sensation and movement.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's nuts. There's a lot of different, interesting, experimental type treatments that they test on people with spinal cord injuries. But the hard part about it is there's no control group. Like there's no group of 10 people that are like, for science, I will allow you to cut and damage my spinal cord, pay me $100,000, and then we can test out this product. It's like, no, they test it out on people that have already been shot, people that have already been crashed, people that have already fallen, like people that have already got their shit jacked up.
And it's not like you can have a control of like how the injury happened either. Like everyone's spinal cord injury is like super crazy different. So it's not like there's any like 10 group of people that you could find that's the same exact level of injury, the same exact way, same level of function, all that shit. It's like, that would be impossible.
Yeah, it's all super experimental. And like Jesse, yours was put in. You were you weren't even conscious, right? Your family put in yours.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So my parents actually signed for me. I was the second person in the United States to receive this trial device. My neurosurgeon actually implanted 6 of the 17, and I was his first. My parents signed for me. I wake up, they're like, hey, this is the only opportunity you're going to have to walk again. So here it is. And I was close with the first patient. And so seeing firsthand him go from a T12 complete to an incomplete in the first 30 days, Asia A to Asia B or C, high C in the first 6 months. And I wasn't getting any of that. And so there's been 17 patients enrolled in this specific trial. And 2 of them actually died of complications due to their injuries, not from the trial device. 7 of the 17 went from complete to incomplete. And then out of those 7, 4 went from Asia A to Asia C, which is a huge, huge difference in somebody's quality of life. And I believe that there's not enough follow-up. It's like you have a spinal cord injury and then you're sent on your way. What if we checked in with these patients at 5 years, checked in with them at 10 years, which as far as I know, Craig Hospital is the only place that does that. But then we can maybe see how are these people living their life, and then, they went from a complete to an incomplete, like Aaron Baker.
Totally.
Yeah, something that it can be, this is just obviously my personal opinion here, is there's spinal cord injury is so traumatic and life-changing, not just because it changes your life, but because it permanently alters and changes your body too, that a lot of people get really focused on getting their walk back, and they will stop focusing on getting their life back. They'll spend, thousands of dollars and thousands of hours over 2 to 3 years, going to all these different places to get all these different treatments, to have all these different surgeries. And to me, like, that, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, push your body as far as you can go, take your limit, especially as far as your budget can go, because a lot of this costs a lot of money. But I think it's a matter of, like, there has to be a balance. You have to learn how to live your life as a wheelchair user. You got to learn how to drive again. You got to learn how to live on your own. You got to learn how to cook. You got to learn how to get a job. Like, there's lots of things you need to learn how to do. Get a girlfriend, get a boyfriend. Like, there's so much stuff that most people tend to forget. And then what happens is, an unfortunate reality, year 2, year 3, they kind of come to terms with it. They kind of have a conversation with, they're like, oh, this isn't going anywhere. And two things can happen. One, they say, all right, that was a lost cause. Let me move on to the next thing. Or what I see most people happen is they get really disappointed, really upset, and kind of crash and fall into a really bad depression because they had such high expectations. And I think they're also unaware that, like, you can live an extremely high quality of life without the use of your legs. But I understand the psychology behind it because, when I got hurt, the thing that didn't work was my legs. So I thought, oh, if my legs work, then my life will return. But that's just not true. Like, I know people that are walking paras that their life still isn't back to normal. They still get, skin sores. They still have bladder and bowel issues. They still, have injuries. They still have to occasionally, like, jump back in their regular wheelchair again. Like, they're on medication. They got spasms. They got pain. Like, there's a whole host of things that's like, yeah, you can get your walk back, but, like, you should probably focus on your life. And that can be kind of a controversial topic, especially around new people. But I think it's something that's pretty important.
Well, it's like when I peer mentor, that's the first thing I tell people. I say, hey, it's cool if you want to focus on walking again. That's all fine and dandy, but don't let that be all your life is about. Because in reality, it's going to take time. If you do walk, it's not going to happen overnight. And that's what people don't realize. They think that if I put all this work in for the next 6 months, I'll be out of this chair in no time. When it took 2 years for me to even get anything back. And so I'm starting to come to this realization that it just takes time. And the more that I've focused on being happy and healthy, the fuller my wheel life has been. And the more sensation and movement I've gotten back, the more return I've had, because I haven't made that my only focus. I'm not looking at all of the things I'm not getting. But that's any obstacle in life. I realized shortly after my injury that being a paraplegic felt just as bad as having to file bankruptcy the year before or being broke. Obviously, they're two different extremes, and being a paraplegic ended up being the worst of the two. But we go through so many things in life that feel equally as disabling as our disability. And it's so important that we constantly check ourselves and be mindful about what we're thinking. So, you would I've accepted that I'm a paraplegic, but I still find times where I feel overwhelmed in my current situations or by my obstacles. And I have enough mindfulness practice now that I can just reroute my thoughts and say, hey, this isn't an obstacle. This is my opportunity. There's going to be something that I'm going to learn from this. And it's all about changing your perspective and approach to what comes at you in life.
I got a question for you. I fully believe that we are what we think about, right? Like, I think the most that we put into our mind is what it is. Like, our reality is what we think about. But I deal with depression and mental health, and a lot of the times I can't help what I think about. A lot of the times I kind of sink in to these, like, just bad places in my mind. People that deal with depression, you know what I'm talking about. And inside of those places, I think, for me, the opposite is true. I think I have to allow myself to think about those things, and I have to acknowledge them and feel them and have a conversation with them, as opposed to avoiding them. I think a lot of people get that mixed up when they're like, oh, you are what you think about, so be careful what you think about. And people are like, okay, I'm just not going to think about being sad anymore. And it's like, that's not what we mean.
Yeah,
that's not what we mean.
You have to be mindful over these thoughts. You're going to have them. Even, quarantine, we're stuck with ourselves.
Facts.
And
Totally.
me still being a newly injured person, because it's only been 5 years, I am constantly thinking about the fact that, holy crap, I'm actually paralyzed. I'm a paraplegic. This is how did I get here? And I've been finding myself going back, and I'm addressing these feelings because I'm comparing quarantine to when I was first injured. And I'm like, wow, I had to adjust to a new normal. And that's kind of how I've been adjusting to the quarantine. So I'm having these negative thoughts about my disability because I'm allowing myself to go back to those emotions. But the key is not staying there. You're allowed to have bad thoughts. Absolutely. We're human beings. We're going to think negative things. We're going to be like, crap, why'd this happen? But the key is addressing that and saying, hey, it's okay that I feel this way, but I can't allow this to control my life and stay here. And I have to move forward from it. So you address it and move forward. Don't ignore it completely. Obviously, that's toxic to your health. But moving on from it is key. You can't dwell in what you can't change.
Yeah, Andrew, have you found yourself having to kind of like, I use the word darkness instead of demons because I'm not really a religious person, but like, have you found yourself trying to like have you been in a point where you're like, oh, that's something in my head that I've been avoiding by working all the time, or I've been avoiding by doing insert the blank? Like, have you found yourself like contemplating stuff?
Yeah, for sure. I think I tend to have a pretty good like relationship with those types of things typically, because I have, through a lot of like self-development and things like that, I've learned from a lot of really smart people those types of concepts where like you can only like get mad at and get frustrated at the things that you can actually change. Anything that you can't change, like, you just have to like accept it. You know what I mean? And I think, during this time, like, I've had a lot more free time. And I think, honestly, sometimes I am working so much, and like you said, kind of maybe working so much to hide the things I don't want to think about. I almost sometimes don't give myself the privilege to just like fuck off and like have fun sometimes. Like, I think that's one thing that this has actually taught me is like, I don't have to be 100% productive like all the time. You know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that I was being toxic to myself about the past few years is like, I wouldn't let myself do anything like that wasn't in some certain way like halfway productive, or like I couldn't just like go lay in bed. I had to be like listening to like a audiobook, or I couldn't just like play a game. I needed to, be doing something at the same time or whatever. And I think that's one thing that this time, kind of just a lot of time at home. And also I think another thing that distracts us is like obligations. Like, everyone's always like asking you to do this thing. And we were talking last night about how like you're the king of saying no. And like now it's just like the easiest time ever to say no, because people aren't even asking you to do anything, because everyone's kind of doing their own thing right now. And I think sometimes being a people pleaser is also like a toxic thing that you can be using to like avoid your own problems, like trying to solve other people's problems instead of solving your own or whatever.
What about this time is a really good moment for you guys to celebrate your wins, right? Like,
totally.
Just how much wheels, I do want to touch on this because I don't think you guys celebrate this enough, of how much Wheels to Walking has grown and developed in the last year. It's unbelievable. And I think that this has just been a beautiful moment for us to sit back and be like, holy crap, I've built this. Holy crap, I've come this far. Wow, look at this progress. Because we're so focused on where we want to be at that we forget to see how far it's developed from our starting stages.
Yeah, you're so true. I've been using this time for a lot of things, but one of those things I've been using this time for is reflection, and not, but almost active reflection. Like, I can't just like sit in my head and be like, let me think about all the stuff that I've done. But what I have been doing is I went back and I've been listening to all the podcasts I've done over the past 18 months or so. Not every single one of them, but, I went back and listened to the very first podcast I did with Andrew. I went and, it was like episode 47, and then the next one, like episode 113. And then I've listened to other podcasts that I've been on, and it's like, what was my mindset? What was I thinking? Where were the numbers? It's really, you're right. Like, it's something that I think Andrew and I both are such like grinders and hustlers that we're always scheming and pushing and pressing and moving things that we we don't take a lot of time to stop and smell the roses. And I think there are certain times to stop and smell the roses, and I think there's times where you need to just shut up and do work. And I think this is a potential time for both. Like, and I know it also is good, like inside of that reflection, I'm reviewing what I did and what I'm doing, and I think to myself, okay, what could I get better at? What are the 2 or 3 areas that I can really focus on? And for me specifically with Wheels to Walking, the 2 things that I've been focusing on the most is I want to get better at writing, and I've already started to do that. The next video that's coming out has been written on a script. I don't know if it's going to be a good video, but it's going to be done really well because I wrote it out. And then other thing I want to do is I want to get better at business, but not just like at business. Like I want to get better at like acquiring customers and helping them get clients. And, I want to do a lot of the tactics that I'm learning to do with my soon-to-be customers, with myself. I want to practice those things on myself to make sure that they work on their own. Like there's a lot of stuff to be learned listen to me, a lot of stuff to learn because in the constant rat race, of going to the gym and hanging out with a girlfriend and going grocery shopping and running errands and shooting videos and traveling and social media and blah, 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 blah. You don't have a time to stop and do this unless you like create time to do it. And it's really hard. It's really intentional. But I think you're
very
spot
apparent,
on.
like the 24 hours in a day that you have. I feel like right now, like a lot of times people are always like, everyone's got the same 24 hours, bro. Oprah's got the same 24 hours as you, man. The Rock's got the same 24 hours as you, man. And like right now, it's very apparent, like the 24 hours that you have and like the bullshit things that you end up doing on a normal day. Like you're not like going and like stopping by the coffee shop for 30 minutes. You're not going and dropping in and talking to the person at the front desk for an extra 30 minutes. You're not doing all the extra little things that end up taking a big chunk of your day away. So you're really like forced to analyze kind of like what you're actually doing. And it's funny because that's actually the upcoming video that we're making with Wheels to Walking is like intentionality with your schedule and minimizing your things and that you have to do in your chores and things like that. But it is kind of interesting this time in particular.
That's what I've been scheduling my days, and I actually have a whiteboard in my bedroom, and I have my time scheduled. So I'm on a schedule all day, because if I had unstructured time right now, I would be getting nothing done. And this for me, I'm looking at quarantine as an opportunity. This is an opportunity for our growth and development, and not only business wise, but for me, I'm touching on a lot of personal things because I see myself, scrolling social media a little more because I have some more time, and I'm looking at what these people are doing and people saying they're bored. And I'm like, how in the hell can you be bored in this time? This is the time of opportunity. But I'm checking myself because I want to develop and not have those judgments. I don't want to pass those judgments on someone else. It's their life. And I have to remind myself that not everybody has the mindset I have. And I think that's been the biggest realization of me from quarantine is like, man, not everyone's as driven as you are. And that's okay. And you need to accept that.
It is true.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's not just mindset. It also has to do with like what goals you're working on. Like some people just are fine with what they're doing. Some people like the corporate structure. Some people have different goals for different reasons. And I think a lot of people have a lot of different things. Like some people are learning how to relax. Some people are learning how to be better parents. Some people are learning how to grow a business. Some people are learning how to read. And some people are, you know what I mean? Like it doesn't have, some people are learning how to cook. Like there's a bunch of different things that you can.
I've started a garden.
It doesn't have to be like us. Like all four of us are just insane when it comes to our drive to get things done. Like we just want to like produce, but not everybody's like that. And that's fine. But the people that are like that are having a hard time. I mean, Jesse and I talk about this a lot. Like we're on the phone, like, or FaceTiming, like at least once a day, maybe, at least, 5 times a week. We're always talking. And it's so great because like we're just checking in on ourselves, like what we're up to, what we're doing, where our mental health's at, where the attitudes are at, where the emotions are at. we're talking about hard topics, and it's just like we're in an interesting time, man. And it's like the two things that I hope that come out of this is I hope that everyone has a chance to address their darkness, and I hope everyone has a chance to kind of like challenge their perceptions, and I hope everyone has the ability to accomplish a goal if they want to. Whatever that one thing is that's been in the back of your mind for years and years and years that you always wanted to do, but you never thought you could do because you never had the time. Now's the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope people do.
Yeah, and I think we kind of touched on this earlier, is like it's time for both things. It's time for like relaxation and like maybe chilling out, but also working on yourself. And we're chilling at home, so you have time to do both of those things. Like I'm still like working out and stuff, but I'm doing that not because I'm feeling like self-hatred towards my body or anything. I know that when I work out, I actually feel better afterwards. Like I feel better as a person. I know that if I don't do like yoga or stretch or something for over a week, I start to feel shittier. And I'm like, oh yeah, because I haven't been keeping up with that thing that I normally do. Like I hurt my leg like a couple weeks ago and I wasn't doing that. And then my back was starting to hurt. I'm like, why is my back hurting? And I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't done yoga, and I was doing that like a couple times a week. It's like, oh yeah, duh. So like there's things that, and like yesterday I laid out on my porch, like, just to hang out in the sun. I never do that. I never just like lay out. But I was also kind of thinking like, what would I be doing if I was on vacation right now? I'd probably be at the beach, like laying out in the sand. So like, I'm going to go lay out on my porch and just hang out and listen to like a podcast or listen to music or whatever. And that's like something that made me feel good. And then I came inside and made really good food. I'm like, dude, this day is the shit. I'm just hanging out inside, but I worked out, I hung out outside all day, got a tan, burned the shit out of the backs of my legs, ate really good food, and I got to talk to my friends. You know what I mean? It's like, what better day could you ask for, Even though, but you could look at it as like, oh, it's so fucking boring, I'm stuck at home. I don't understand the concept of being bored. Like, I really don't.
I don't. I think this is fun.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, I think the thing that a lot of people are lacking, and maybe we can shed some insight on this because I think all three of us aren't lacking this, is the idea of perception versus reality. Like,
totally.
Your perception is your reality, but also reality is reality. Like, your perception could be really wrong. And I think a lot of people's perceptions are currently being decided by how much news they consume. How many hours a day are you watching news? Are you in fear? Are you in anxiety? Are you worried about stuff? Are you stressing about stuff? What does your informational diet look like? And
but that's only if you're letting the news get you down. I mean, you can consume a lot of news and not let it really phase you. You can digest it and go, or you can say probably a lot of that is inflated. Probably a lot of that is not real. Probably a lot of that is fear mongering. Or you can digest it and take everything for face value and get scared and get worried and have anxiety about it.
The issue with that is not everybody has that mindset. Like, I even caught myself before the stay-at-home orders in the beginning of March. I was in Florida, and as I was getting my return flight home, I was really worried that my flight was going to get canceled. And so I was watching the news, all day to try and keep up with it. And it was like every hour, the status of this virus was changing. And the pandemic, that word started getting tossed around so much. And it generated a lot of fear very quickly.
Totally.
And I carried that fear until I began self-isolating. And as soon as I started self-isolating, I stopped watching the news. I'm like, until further notice, I'm self-isolated. I'm here. And so the only thing, CNN updates on my Mac, and I get those little bars that come over, and I saw one that said the CDC recommends everyone wears mask. Cool. I'll wear a mask every time I go in public. I just need the headlines. I don't need to consume all of that and let it consume me. I'm home. I'm safe. And I think if more people had that mindset, sitting at home, you're safe. You're not going anywhere. No risk of picking it up, no risk of giving it to anyone if you have it. So find something to do. I bought a $20 sewing machine. I'm going to teach myself how to create a stitch on my crop tops that I cut. I planted a garden. I'm going to YouTube how to fix the brakes on my side-by-side. Like, there's so much that we can do. I got rid of 3 trash bags of clothes, so I decluttered my life. I went through all my documents, cleared my desk off, organized things. You don't have to work on the things that are your goals. You could just do little things that you haven't had time to do around the house.
Totally.
Yeah, stuff that'll improve your quality of life. And one thing I just want to touch on real quick is a lot of people, saying they're bored, and we're encouraging them like, hey, go find something to do. What I suggest you don't do is go down the conspiracy theory rabbit hole, because that is very entertaining and super fun, because it's scary, it's eerie, it's creepy. Who's the people in power? What's happening over here?
Because you want to find someone to blame for your problems. That's the main
exactly.
thing.
It's like political this, political that, and I don't know if it's a matter of. I think it's humans naturally have a desire to want to figure out what's happening in the world around them. And Occam's razor usually states that the simplest explanation is usually the truth. But a lot of people don't want to believe that this is a virus that randomly spawned in a wet market that has these particular properties that spread across the world. They don't want to believe World Health Organization. They don't want to believe CDC. And it's the aluminum hat people. It's the people that got C's and D's in high school that are the ones that are going down these crazy rabbit holes. And it's like, it's fun. It's entertaining. I'm not going to lie about that. Like, it's
There's a lot of people that got C's and D's in high school that are pretty freaking smart, though. Like,
I don't disagree. I'm just talking shit. But, I mean,
also people that got A's and B's that are really street dumb as shit.
I didn't even get grades, y'all. So, like, look at me over here. Like, I'm sitting on my throne of lies. But I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you're gonna find something to do, make it something that your future self is gonna thank you for, not entertainment.
It comes down to, people want to be different. They don't want to conform to the norms. They want a different opinion. It was like Kevin Hart said in an interview once. He goes, he used the movie Titanic as the example, and he says, I love Titanic, great movie. I tell my friend, and he said, that shit was ass. I hate Titanic. But it was a good movie, right? And it's just because they want a different opinion. People are so quick to spread their negativity because it's an opinion that's different from the normal. And so they're so quick to say, oh, China, it's a Chinese virus. China started this. And it's like, no, it's a virus that started and it spread because nobody stopped traveling because nobody thought it was serious. And it just ended up being a little bit more serious in the respiratory area. And it's like the people that keep saying, I refuse to be a slave. I prefer my freedom, talking about the stay-at-home orders. I called somebody out on it today. And I was like, think about your family. Think about your kids. And she's like, my family and kids already had it. Okay, but it's growing. Do you realize it's like the flu, and that's why you have to get a flu shot every year, because it's continuing to develop and change, and just because you had it once, you could get it again in a different form?
The thing for me is, like, I tend to be on the side of, like, anti like medicine a lot of times, because I grew up in a family where, like, we didn't take a lot of drugs. Like, we didn't, my mom was very, like, natural, leaning. She definitely will encourage, like, a natural remedy over, like, taking a medicine or something. But at the same time, when it did require it, like, we would take medicine and stuff. Like, it wasn't like there was no drugs in our house or anything like that. So I kind of, like, when I hear stuff like, like you were saying, I prefer my freedom or whatever. I, like, kind of, when I hear the government saying, like, stay home and stuff like that, I tend to think that too. And I tend to think, like, no, man, fuck that. Like, we're really about to, like, instate martial law and, like, what's going to happen? Who's going to stop me? If I go out, what are they going to do? Arrest me? What are they going to do? Shoot me? Like, I tend to think towards that. And also, I'm fortunate that, like, I tend to not get sick very often. I have a pretty strong immune system, blah, 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 blah. But like you said, it's like, that's a selfish, very, like, single-minded way of thinking. And it's like, you're only thinking about yourself, like, nah, man, I want to still do what I want. I still want to go out. I still want to do this. Fuck the government, blah, blah, blah. It's like, it's not really about the government at this point. It's really just about the public safety.
Public health, public safety, exactly.
Yeah, and it's like if we all agree to just like try to fucking stay in and minimize the effects of this, it's going to be over faster. But people are dumb and they want to be selfish about it. And I get that. Like, I totally get that. I mean, I think
I had that
it's the
same
same
mindset.
type of people that are like anti-vaxxers and shit. Like, it's just unfortunately the people that are being informed by the wrong thing and they want to take it down that rabbit hole or whatever. And
They get their
that's their right
information
to
from
do that,
Facebook.
I guess. But yeah, it's just kind of sad.
Yeah, some people lack basic critical thinking skills. Some people don't know how to check sources. Some people don't know or understand logical fallacies. Like, I don't blame people because like I've fallen into loops like that before. And it's
You ate
I
a
don't know,
SIM
man.
card.
Stop. No, you didn't.
I don't even want to get into this story.
Did it come out?
I don't want to get into this story, guys.
Did it come out?
Richard's like, I've been down those rabbit holes. Bruh, you ate a SIM card.
I know what I did. I was trying to make sure that people couldn't find me, so I chewed it up and ate it. Why?
Did it come out?
I don't remember. I was on so many drugs. It was a bad time in my life.
Oh
I was
my
so
God.
Sorry,
I was so
I
paranoid.
had to pull that one out. That is like tinfoil hat to the max.
That was
Oh,
me.
dude, my mental health at one point was so bad. My paranoia was so bad. I legitimately thought people were conspiring to like.
Didn't you say you would like
cha-
listen to radio static and shit too? or
Yeah,
something?
I would listen to the radio, and I think people were communicating to me. I would drive around town, and I thought anyone who drove a Chevy was like on the bad guys team, and they were trying to hurt
Dude,
me.
that's true. Fuck Chevy.
Like there was literally like I was fucked up, but that was just due to like a drug psychosis and undiagnosed mental health issues. That was just like that was the perfect storm of craziness. But anyway, so I
But I brought that up because it's like you've straight been there, dog. Like,
yeah, I'm
You're not
I'm
just,
admitting
like,
to that.
talking out your ass.
I'm agreeing to that. Like I
Yeah.
totally like I've gone down there, but this is how I see it. Everyone wants to go outside. Everyone wants to get back to their life. So I saw this online. Again, didn't check the source. Don't know if it's true, but it sounded right. So I'm going to repeat it. That's my asterisk. If we were at a 90% compliance rate when it came to isolating, quarantine, and social distancing, this would be done in like 30 to 45 days. If it was at 80%, it would be until like August or September. We're currently at 50% compliance. Like, there's
how do
not
we even measure that though? Because the thing is too is like all the essential workers can't comply. It's like, what are we gonna do? Not go to grocery stores? Like, we have to. And like those people still have to work. I mean, what are we gonna do? Like the people that are running like the cable companies and the internet and all that. Like people would freak the fuck out.
Most
I'm not
people are
disagreeing.
delivering. Like, grocery stores are delivering. I didn't go to the grocery store because they're delivering. It's just, there's ways around it. And if more people did comply, there would be less contact with those essential workers.
Agreed.
And so it's reducing the amount of spread. If only one family member goes to the grocery store instead of the whole household. I had that same mindset when this all started. I took 4 flights at the beginning of March, sick. All 4 flights, I was sick. And I traveled sick because I'm like, I'm wearing a mask. I don't have corona. I'm fine, And you think that you're fine, but then I had a friend that got it. And I had another friend that got it. And I'm like, wow, I could be a source of this problem. I could be giving, regardless if I had it or not, I could be giving people this sickness. And so I had that same mindset. I was like, I've been paralyzed. I died when I got paralyzed. I ain't got to worry about COVID. It ain't taking me out. I like Corona with lime. Like, I had that ignorant mindset when this all started. And it was when it started affecting my loved ones. And I'm like, oh shit, maybe we're not immune. This could happen to someone I love. This could happen to me. And I'm like, I'm going to be the solution, not the problem.
Yeah, and to touch on your point when you said, going to the grocery store and taking one person and not the whole family, I also think you can step that up and do grocery trips once a week or once every 2 weeks. I think the way I think about it is I have a lot of food allergies, and that I have to deal with a lot of cross-contamination, which basically means if one thing touches another thing, I still get a very serious allergic reaction. So I'm very hyper-aware and hyper-vigilant about what things touch what and how it does this and does that. And, like, I find myself sometimes going crazy where I'll go outside for, like, a push. I'll go roll around the neighborhood. You know, I might, bump into someone, but I'm staying far away from them. If I
think everyone's worried about the wrong thing getting touched right about now. Like your food getting touched by someone. Like you're always having to deal with it, and now everyone's like, "Yo, did you touch that?" Like, I don't want you touching anything.
Or if you have a cough, bro, you coughing?
Yeah, or then touching my wheels or
stop coughing. The Paul Bear meme.
Oh God. Yeah, having to justify your coughs is annoying. But anyway, all I'm trying to say is I understand how things spread and how they spread quickly, and I try to keep myself out of high traffic, high dense areas. Like here's an example. I had to go to Target the other day just to get to get a toothbrush, and I wish I could have waited to get this toothbrush like when I did my full grocery run, but I was like, screw it, whatever. So they had one side closed off and the other side opened up. So I went into the opened up side and immediately went to the closed off side and then went like the back way through the aisles, like all the way to the toothbrushes, grabbed what I needed to do, and then went to the self-checkout on the closed side of the store because I knew that area had less traffic. I knew that moving around the back way had less traffic. And, I put, the toothbrush on my lap, and then after I scanned out and did my car, I went to the car and wiped down my credit card, wiped down the toothbrushes, wiped down my lap, because I was like done.
You drove there?
Because I was on the way to go. I was on the way to go somewhere else.
I was to say, isn't it next door?
Yeah, shush. I know. It was on the way to go somewhere else. But anyway, I think it's just a matter of like reducing the amount of contact you have with people. It's not about. For me, I try to play the most like absolute zero game ever, but for some people, their life or their lifestyle or their job doesn't allow for that. So you just have to do reduction tactics. You come in the door, you take a shower, you throw your clothes in the wash, you wash them. If you are going to meet up with someone, meet up with them outside in public. I think about like our friend Diane. We have a friend who is like a tournament competition, like almost Olympic level jiu-jitsu fighter. And, her gym got closed down, but she still wanted to train. So she, in her garage, like put down a bunch of jiu-jitsu mats and has people over to come spar and grapple with her. Now,
that's a tough one, dude. That one, I don't think jiu-jitsu's coming back for a minute.
Yeah, I don't think that is
so much contact.
Yeah, I don't think that's necessarily like the wisest decision of her, but I'm not her. And, they're not all going to one gym. Like a couple of people are showing up to her house every now and then. I think about, visiting friends, I think that's probably okay as long as they're in your inner circle, meaning that they have also isolated, that they've also quarantined, that they're also washing their hands and taking this seriously and not making unnecessary trips and yada, yada, yada.
I mean, honestly, I feel like us giving advice about physical contact stuff is kind of irrelevant too, because like, we're in Georgia where there's like me and the three of us are in Georgia. You're in North Carolina, right, Jesse? Mm-hmm. Like, we're not in New York City. You know what I mean? Like there's different advice for different places. So I feel like giving general advice like this is like not that productive for this conversation, but I agree.
You're 100% correct.
Disagree with you.
Let's hear it, Jesse.
Atlanta's the New York City of the South. I will fight with you until death does us part. And we're in the South. They're expecting our peak days later this month. We haven't even peaked yet.
We haven't climaxed yet.
Damn it!
Peaking. I'm peaking.
I'm peaking.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. But I'm just saying, like, as far as being like, I think it's okay to do this, I think it's okay to do that, we're a bunch of dummies. Like, I don't think we should be giving advice on that. But I think what we can probably give advice on is the mental stuff and, like, how to deal with all this. Because,
it's just,
I feel like we've been doing pretty decent. And also it helps because me and Rick, like, especially me, I've realized, like, I'm pretty good at, like, being by myself. And I think it's probably a combination of a lot of things, but also probably my personality and the way that I am. But, I think just like getting comfortable and dealing with, like, I think a lot of people probably use like socialization and hanging out with friends and going to restaurants and getting
To
drunk
avoid
and getting
themselves.
fucked up to avoid themselves and to stop thinking about those things. And that's something that I've like worked on before the quarantine. Like, I love going into like sensory deprivation tanks and shit like that. Like, I love like sitting in my own thoughts with no distractions, because it's like you get to think about all the weird shit. Because once you get all the
great.
because once you kind of get all the like quote unquote demons out, you can start to think about all the productive things. Like, I love shower thoughts. Like, I love going in the shower because that's the one time where you can't be looking at your phone or something, you know? Like, I like doing those things. So I think that's why I haven't had a rough time with this. But I think right now there's probably a lot of people dealing with some hard shit mentally.
I got some interesting insight, is that I knew I needed this, but I have a hard time with my own self-discipline, and that is a somewhat regular sleep schedule, you know, going to bed at a kind of the same time and waking up at kind of the same time. Also, like, my morning routine and my night routine got all jacked up, and I'm trying to fix that. One of the things that I think is cool, it used to be a sign of me getting depressed, but now it's not, is that I used to always have to have noise, whether it was like a podcast or a TV show or a YouTube video. I always had to feel like I had something going in my head, and that made me feel like I was like hanging around people, or it made me feel like I was learning something. But it's gotten to the point where almost anything that I consume feels like entertainment, and I'm currently at this place where I just don't want to be entertained anymore. I want to
like
grow. I
overload
want
on that shit.
Yeah, I want to grow. I want to develop. I want to learn, and kind of like that entertainment stuff. It'll come back later. Like, I'll catch up to it later. But for now, like, I'm not listening to as many podcasts. I'm not watching as many YouTube videos. I'm not watching Netflix hardly at all. I can barely make it through a movie. I keep trying to watch movies, and I can barely make it through an hour of a movie. I'm like, what is
download
this?
Quibi. It's only 10-minute quick bites.
Welcome to my life.
Yeah, but
This has been
anyway,
me for the past year. No TV, no movies, silence.
Yeah, but I guess it's nice is like I have time to reflect and think about things and have conversations in my head. And it's like I'm currently taking this like really pretty hardcore like 4-month training program online, and every video I watch like 1 or 2, sometimes 3 a day. And dude, it just gives me so much shit in my head to think about that like I don't want to like last night, for example, I usually always go to bed flipping through pictures on Imager. Like, always. It's a way to like turn off my brain and be entertained until I get tired and then fall asleep. But today I was like, you know what I actually want to do? Or yesterday, I was like, I actually just want to think about my day today. I want to think about my day tomorrow, and then I just want to fall asleep. And I just kept like, I told myself, I was like, oh, I want to get up early. And it was like, well, why do you want to get up early? I was like, oh, I want to accomplish this, this, and this. And it's like, but why do you want to accomplish this? And I was like, oh, because this, this, this. And I'm like, well, that's not compelling enough of a reason. Why do you actually want to do it? Oh, because this, this, and this. Oh, are you sure about that? Like, I just had to have this thing. And then I like got on my phone and like planned out my day. And I'm just being more, I guess, like intentional like I used to be. And I think I'm lucky enough, Andrew, I think was touching on this, that we've dealt with a lot of our problems before this, and now we're able to like fine tune it. You know, like this is true lifestyle design at this point. Like you can truly build your life quite literally however you want it. Granted, it's inside the confines of your house and your resources, but there's still a lot that you can do. Like,
and you can choose what to return to. Like, I think a lot of times, like, people are always talking about 2020 is the year that I'm going to cut off all my toxic friendships and shit like that. It's like, well, right now, all your friendships, not even just the toxic ones, like, you know, you ain't hanging out with anybody. So, like, you know,
you don't have to hang out with anybody else.
Yeah, figuring that shit out, you know, that's a big one.
Evaluating who's adding value to your life and whose life you're adding value to. You know, it's a two-way street. And
that is true.
I looked at my friends last year or 2 years ago when I first started my real like diving in deep with the personal development. I was like, all right, my group of friends, something's got to change. And I started spending less time with the people that were taking from my value, but not adding back to it. And having that realization and honest conversation with yourself of who and what are adding value to my life, And who am I giving it back to? Because it cannot be a one-way street. That's not a sustainable relationship. And it's recreating those goals. Like Richard, you're like, I'm so excited to, go to bed and review what I did during the day and get excited about what I'm doing tomorrow. Having goals gives you something to be excited about. That's what wakes you up. That's what wakes me up. No alarm clock needed. 5:00 in the morning. Typically every single morning.
My passion wakes me.
Yes!
No alarm clock needed.
No, yeah, I'm basically Eric Thomas.
Yo, but I think it back to touching what Andrew was saying about you can kind of break up with your friends you don't want to be a part of anymore is because you simply just be like, oh, I'm sorry, quarantine changed me. Like people will or will not understand that, and that
changed me, dog.
you
I ain't
can literally
back to your bullshit.
No, seriously, think about I think about people that are in relationships they don't want to be in. I think about people that have habits they don't want to do. I think about people that have habits they do want to do. I think of so much. Oh man, I'm so fat eating out. All my friends do is eat out, and all I do is eat out with them. It's like, okay, now you can get new fitness friends. Oh, all my friends do is go to parties and drink, and I want to get professionally done accomplished, but all I do is party and drink. Okay, then get different friends. You can change. You literally
it's easier said than done, but right now it's like you ain't hanging out with anybody, so
do it. This is the time.
It is easier said than done, and it is possible to do it in non-quarantine, non-corona times. But because right now, currently, you're figuring out who your OGs are. I got 5 people that I knew were my OGs, and this just verifies it. It's like I talked to 5, 6 people ever, and now it's like the one person I've added in is you, Jesse. I literally have my family. I've got Andrew. I've got my girlfriend, Anas, Ian. I don't have many people I regularly communicate with. It's just I don't regularly communicate with people, and that's because I'm very protective of my time. I'm super introvert. I want to do what I want to do when I want to do it. I think.
I think everyone with a spinal cord injury could probably relate to that too, because it's before you get hurt, you probably got a lot of friends and things like that end up fizzling out for whatever reason. But it's not even just because of oh well, now he's in a wheelchair, so we can't do all the same things. But it's literally you end up changing and I think about we were talking about network marketing a lot recently. When you join a network marketing company and you start to ask your friends to help support you or whatever, you figure out real quick who actually gives a fuck about you and who's only there to have fun and stuff. When you start talking about real stuff or making money together, people are weird. And something like this can be a time where people can get real weird.
Yeah, I lost quite a few friends, but I didn't really take it personally just because my lifestyle had changed. I had friends around the gym. I had friends around school and sculpture. I had friends around hiking. I had friends around, pick up sports at the park. I had friends, I had a lot of activity-based friends, let's put it that way. A lot of people that I only really hung out with or caught up with during activities, and because I wasn't participating in those activities anymore, they just kind of weren't around. For the first couple of months, they'd pop in and say hi, or I'd go hang out with them, or we'd go to eat, or yada yada whatever. And then there was a good group of friends that were super cool and accommodating and blah blah blah. I'm not saying I lost everyone. It was just everyone dried up except for my family. But I will say it was only a couple of people that really hung out, that really stuck in, and that was a bit of a rude awakening. Jesse, did you have that experience did you have people kind of just stop being a part of your life?
I have, most of my friends are guys, and I'm so fortunate that when I got paralyzed, most of them had no problem pulling my wet diaper from under my butt, helping me pull my pants up. It was like having a girlfriend that doesn't look at you sexual. It wasn't a sexual thing. It was I'm helping my wheel friend, right? But I also had the ones that, as I developed through my injury, about year 3 into my injury, I really started to develop. And it was I don't think I want to be your friend anymore. I don't want to involve as much time with you. And I've found myself, I'm starting to practice becoming very detached with my phone. I think us as a society, we're way too attached. I don't have my phone. Oh my gosh, what do I do? What do I do? And so I've been leaving it downstairs. I'm letting it die. And that's been very, very helpful for my mental health as well, because I'm not who's texting me, who's liking my stuff on Instagram, which are these thoughts that unintentionally we have. Do I have YouTube comments? Do I have Instagram comments? Do I have messages to reply to? Do I have missed calls? And it's like we're letting these people take up so much of our time. I found that I was sitting with this in my hand
Just
more
waiting for something to happen.
right, more than I was actually making things happen. And as soon as I addressed that and was honest with myself about that, that's when my friends really started changing. Like I have a few friends that I'm very, very close with, that I talk with at least once to every other day, but I have a few people. I was thinking about it, Richard, at this time, I go through seasons. I'm like close with certain people, and at this time, you're the person I'm closest with right now.
Gang, gang. No, it's true. It works. You know, I think about like, so Andrew and I's relationship is mostly the same. It's a little bit different, but mostly the same. My family and I's relationship, we're further apart. It's a little bit better because we do more FaceTimes and, you know, stuff like that. I think about, you know, my girlfriend, she and I, we've been pretty much separated this whole time. She got sick for a little while and had to quarantine and take antibiotics and yada, yada, yada. So we've been doing a lot of stuff on FaceTime as well. You know, I think about, you know, my buddy Ian, like we're always like FaceTime and Zoom and texting, whatever. And then where I stay, there's a guy named Anas, and he and I have always been important in each other's lives. And, you know, like we go for like walks, you know, once a day, maybe, you know, like, and then, you know, I'm always, you know, calling you, and it's like, there's like, you can cultivate your existing relationships, you can cultivate new relationships, but I think what I found the most beneficial is like the people that have similar mindsets and perspectives and attitudes, and putting myself around those people, because I think as silly as it sounds, it's like your network is your net worth, because your network, the 5 people that you talk to, means that you are just like those people. So if you're the only fit person who's like running your own business, and you're around a bunch of people that aren't healthy and that are complaining a lot, and, you know, like work regular jobs like that, those type of people are going to be harder to be around because you just don't align with them.
I think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because once you kind of like get woke or whatever you want to call it, or like, you know, you start to develop yourself in a positive way, you start to be hanging out with people that are, you know, more productive or make more money or whatever. It's a double-edged sword because, like, for example, I think about relationships a lot. There's a lot of like basic people out there. They could probably be in a relationship with a lot of different people. You know, like you think of like your one true soulmate or whatever. There's probably a lot of people that are like pretty compatible. You know what I mean? And then like once you kind of like get to a certain different level of like, again, like whatever you want to call it, wokeness or something, it's harder to kind of like be around those people that you used to be able to hang out with, because you're like, oh, I've like, it sounds so pretentious, but like I've almost kind of like leveled up or something like that.
No, I do not want to go to a beer garden.
I do not
Preach.
want to go skiing. And I think about that all the time.
Oh, I want to ski.
I know. No, it was a Gary Vee thing. A Gary Vee thing. He goes, no, I do not want to go to a beer garden. I do not want to go skiing. Like he's just talking about all this like all
Andrew,
the bullshit that people always like invite him on or whatever.
You trying to come through, dog?
Yeah, exactly.
Trying
like,
to come
no,
through?
I'm not trying to come through. I'm not trying to like just hang out, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And I think it's like the double-edged sword, and kind of what you were saying earlier, Jesse, about like how easy it is to just be like negative about things. People, it's because it's the easiest, it's the path of least resistance to just be like negative and like just not do anything productive or whatever. And again, it's kind of,
You don't have to change if you're negative.
you don't
It's
have to
like,
change if
meh.
you're negative, and it's very easy to just hang around with people who always just complain about everything, you know. And it's like it's a lot harder to hang out with people and be the person who tries to make the change or tries to be, you know, a better person or whatever. And
Because you'll get a lot of resistance. You'll actually
totally will.
From yourself.
Your friends and family will come at you and be like, "You've changed. You're different." And it's like,
Even if you start like cleaning your room and shit, like Jordan Peterson talks about that. Like if your whole family are slobs and then all of a sudden you start to clean your room, they'll fucking say some shit. They'll be like, "Oh, you think you're better than us now that you're just, you know, blah, blah, blah." And it's, I mean, I think about that with people that are the families that are obese, families that are overweight. If you start working out and trying to better yourself, people don't ever want, people want you to do well, but only they don't want them, they don't want you to do better than them. You know what I mean? Like they want you to have success and be successful and blah, 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 but they never want you to surpass their level. And that's a harsh reality.
I think it's a little bit different. This is my personal opinion. I think it's people want you to do well as long as it doesn't force you to have to change. And I don't mean force as in like,
but they gotta look at themselves and be like, oh shit, Richard was in the same spot I was in last year, and now look at him, and I'm still in the same position, maybe even worse, because I've just been stagnant and I haven't been doing shit.
So let me try to tear him down so I can remain the same.
And a lot of times, a lot of that is subconscious too. Like people don't even realize that they're doing it, but they have this like self-hatred that comes out as like loathing you and resentments towards you. And actually, this is a very interesting phenomenon that I think a lot of kids and millennials are going through right now with, especially right now, a lot of people are unemployed. You know, a lot of people have these resentments towards their parents or whatever, because a lot of times their parents are still somewhat supporting them. Maybe their parents got them through college. Maybe they're living at their parents' house, all this stuff. And it's really hard to break the cycle because you want to like leave them, you want to like get out from under them, you want to stop depending on them, but at the same time you're kind of like depending on them. You do have love for them, you do love them, they've supported you this long, so you don't want to, you know, just like leave it. It's such a weird mind fuck. And
I live with my parents. I live with my parents still. I pay them, so I actually pay them rent. I've paid them rent since being paralyzed. Our whole house was set up for a wheelchair user, roll-in shower, all that. Like, I would never move somewhere and have what I have here. And they watch my dog. But
I wouldn't call it living with your parents. I would say that you share a house with your parents.
Like I rent from them.
Your basement is a full apartment. Like,
but their negative mindset. Like, my dad is the worst about it. I'll be working out downstairs. I'll be saying something. And my dad goes, he like makes a joke out of my drive or my
efforts.
I've
seen that so much from
snide remarks.
Too. Right. And you're like, and rather than taking it in that negative way, I'm looking at my parents, and don't get me wrong, my parents are the most supportive people. I love them to death. And if you guys are listening, please don't take this the wrong way. You make me realize everything I don't want to be. You make me realize the people that I want to grow away from and what I don't want to continue on. Because, you know, for example, my mom got pregnant at 17, my older sister at 16, I got pregnant at 15. And I continued that cycle. And as I started my personal growth and development, I realized I was continuing this cycle of my parents, of that I can't accomplish more. My mom's just a truck driver, my dad's her dispatcher, and I can't be more because I'm from trucking parents. You know, and this is what my parents came from, so this is what I'm going to be. And in reality, we are the ones to break that. We are the ones to rise up and become more than what our parents have ever done. And that's the whole point of our parents having kids, is because they want individuals that are going to do more than them. That's what our parents want for us.
And it's not like everyone. I like Richard was saying. It's like, yo, don't get it twisted. Like you're living with your parents. The thing that I'm saying is like, I think that there are a lot of people that are almost quote unquote freeloading or whatever you want to call it, and that's where a lot of that resentment comes from. But also, I can relate to what you're talking about too, because I was in this position where I was living with my parents. And I was also paying rent. I was also, it was basically like me and my parents were roommates. And, but at the same time, it was still like I was paying a lot less rent than like if I was going to move out somewhere, it was like, oh shit, I'm paying like 3 times the like rent or whatever they're charging me. So it's still an advantage. But I see it a lot and a lot of my friends from high school and stuff are in that boat right now where I feel like they're holding a lot of resentments and also this happens a lot of times, unfortunately, with people that end up graduating and they have a ton of student loan debt and they don't have the job that they thought they were going to get. And right now the job market is really tough and it's hard. It's really hard, but you know, whatever.
Just like the graduating class of 2008, they graduate right into a recession.
Yep. And I feel bad about a lot of the high school kids that are graduating right now, but honestly, it'll give them time to reassess and reevaluate and all that kind of stuff. But I mean, we're in a weird time right now, of course, but I think I think what we're, you know, what I was kind of trying to say, I guess, is just like, you know, the double-edged sword of like getting elevating yourself and working on yourself is having to deal with the people that, you know, are going to try to like bring you down, or, you know, finding those friends that are positive like you. And I think the biggest thing you can do to help with that mindset, a lot of times people are like, oh, how can I find friends that are going to like, you know, elevate my mindset, or, you know, I don't know anyone like that, especially my age. That was one thing with my brother, you know, he was younger than me, and he's like, dude, I don't know any of my friends that are like trying to better themselves. All of them are just partying and like doing bullshit. And I think one of the biggest things you can do is like listen to podcasts and stuff, because you start to think like those people. You know, if you start to have that mindset of a you know, an abundant person, someone that's attracting wealth, attracting positive things to you. And I'm not just talking about like manifesting or whatever. It's like, it's actually, you start to have a different mindset. And I think that's like a big one for me, is just like listening and consuming things from positive people.
Yeah, one thing I want to touch on from both of you guys is like, Jesi talks about how the example that she's got from her parents is the opposite of what she wants to be. And so what that is, to me, is what I call like a reverse mentor. Like you can learn a lot from someone based on what you know you don't want. Like
Almost
I think
more
about
sometimes.
I mean,
Yes,
I think about
absolutely.
like my romantic relationships. I want to model the opposite of how I've seen my mother handle her romantic relationships over her life. And that's no shade on my mom. She's I love her to death. She's done the best she could, given, you know, all the tools, yada yada whatever. But it's like I have not ever seen what a good parent is, and I've not ever seen what a healthy marriage is, really, except for maybe the exception of like my sister. And so I think to myself, I'm like, oh, cool. I want to make sure I do the opposite of all these things. And I think what Andrew's talking about is a similar thing with mentors as well. You don't actually have to meet your mentors. You can read a book about Abraham Lincoln, and there you go. You have now been mentored by Abraham Lincoln. I think about one of my biggest mentors is a guy named Casey Neistat. Never met him in my entire life. Maybe won't. Maybe will. Who knows? But I know from 2016 to 2019, I watched his vlogs every fucking day. I saw that guy build a business. I saw that guy have relationships with people. I saw that guy grow on YouTube. I saw that guy do a lot of stuff. And he taught me a lot of mindset, and he taught me a lot of productivity, and he taught me a lot of attitudes. And like, there's so much about Casey that I'm like, damn, bro, like if it wasn't for Casey, I don't know if I would have even started Wheels to Walking. And because, like
that's
I was
very
in the
true,
middle,
honestly.
I mean, I was in the middle of like major depression, and I was watching videos of Casey every day. I was watching videos of Louie every day, and I was watching videos of Ben every day. And out of Louie and Ben, I wasn't as consistent as I was with Casey, and because I could always go back and watch more of his older videos. And I remember the thing he used to always say was like, you don't have to be a professional. Like, you don't have to be good. You just have to have a unique perspective to share with the world that no one's ever seen before. And I thought to myself, like, okay, I got a phone or I got a camera. Like, I don't know how to vlog. I don't know how to upload. I don't know how to YouTube, but I know for damn sure I got a unique perspective that I want to share with the world. And like, that is something that you can learn from people. I mean, I think about like one of my favorite comedians, Chris D'Elia. I'll probably never meet him, but like through his stand-up and through his Instagram,
We
and
kind of
through
met
his
him for like a split second.
Oh yeah, in the hall. Yeah. Like I don't know. I just feel like I learn a lot from him too. He's 10 years older than me, and like that's kind of cool. I don't know. Like you don't have to like.
He's 10 years younger.
Official.
He's the youngest man alive. I don't know if you knew that.
Yeah, and I think about even like Jesi and I both have this privilege where we get to mentor people younger than us, not by actually being mentors, but just simply by being the power of example, by simply showing like, yo, you can be on wheels and be super healthy, and you can have a great mental mindset, and you can run foundations and businesses, and like you can do things with your life. You don't have to just like rot away.
That's what I was going to touch on.
Yeah.
Is our community, how much I use our community. Like, we have so many wheelchair users that are just doing badass shit.
Badasses.
Right. Like, these people are unreal. The strength and perseverance that these individuals possess is unbelievable. And I pull so much of my personal strength from our community. The whole inspiration porn, I use them for inspiration porn 100%. You're my inspiration porn. Chelsea Hill, Tiffany Adams. You know, there's so many powerhouse wheel women that I'm like, holy crap. And then you go to Garrison. Like, I love everything that Garrison's doing. Our whole group, Cripple Threat. I mean, they're all just doing such amazing things, and it's just powerful to be involved in that.
Yeah,
because essentially we are.
I think it's not even necessarily just like inspiration porn, but it's almost kind of like representation, right? It's like people talk about all the time in Hollywood, like we need more black superheroes or whatever, and it's like it seems stupid, but it's like, you know, you need someone that looks like you to like look up to or whatever. You need someone that you need someone that you can relate to, that you're like, holy shit, I can do that thing that this person's doing. And I think that's, I think both of you guys, a lot of the community looks up to you guys. I mean, I know they do. Like, I see the messages. Like, I know for a fact that people have like not fucking killed themselves and stuff. Like, it's crazy.
I almost exclusively follow wheelchair users on my Instagram because I want to see dude wheelchair users that are in cool relationships, and I want to see what they do with their significant other. I pay attention to people, what they're doing with their adaptive stuff, their adaptive equipment or their adaptive sports, and I want to pay attention to that and be involved in it and do my own things. Like, I fucking creep on everybody and follow everybody because I'm like, what are they up to? How are they doing it? Why are they doing it? You know, like, can I get better? What are my goals? Yada yada. Like, I definitely use other wheelchair users a lot because I am a wheelchair user.
But that's the thing is, like, you know, you can call whatever you want, but like thoughts become things, you know. It's like if you're just sitting there not trying to do anything, you're going to stay in the same exact place you were. You know, if you keep doing the same things that you're doing, saying the same things that you've always been saying, you're going to be at the same place. And it's like you can look at someone like Richard and someone like Jesse and be like, okay, what do I need to do to be there? And it's like, you don't need to change your whole life in one day. But like, you know, Richard, you talk about it. Like, you were literally in the depths of depression, contemplating suicide. You were overweight. You were like a completely different person. It's like, oh, it's simple. You just have to change every single thing about you. You know, it's like, oh yeah, it's not easy, but it's literally like, you know, and
simple
people,
and easy are not the same words, but
you can apply that to so many things. It's like, I think about it, you know, I again, like, I was super inspired by Casey and like, holy shit, like, you know, he was doing all these cool things. He lived in New York City. He was traveling all the time. He got to go to these amazing places, and he had really cool friends that were also doing big things and, you know, making videos every day. And it's like, oh shit, like, look what, you know, I look at my life and I'm like, damn, dude, like, I've gone to a lot of cool places. I've gotten to travel a lot of cool places. Oh shit, I'm a YouTuber now. Like, I'm making videos. I know a lot of cool people. I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people. We were nominated for a freaking Shorty Award. Like, holy shit, you know? And so it's like, you just, yeah, I guess it's possible. You just have to like know what you're going for, you know? And it's hard when you don't have a role model or a mentor, but yeah, you don't have to meet those mentors. You just have to like, you know, absorb them kind of. And one thing that my friend, I was going to mention this earlier, I just thought of it again. My friend Owen taught me this, and I think it might have been a thing from Tim Ferriss. I don't remember who taught this, but it was like this idea of having like a council of elders in your head. Like this idea of your 5 main like mentors. Like you could have like Joe Rogan, Gary Vee, Abraham Lincoln, Tim Ferriss, and, you know, Richard Corbett, like in your brain. But because you've consumed so much of them, like, you know, I think about like Joe Rogan. I've consumed literally days and days of Joe Rogan's thoughts, ideas, his voice, how he thinks about things. So I could probably come up with a problem and think in my head, like, WWJD, what would Joe do? Literally, you know, like I can literally go in my brain and think, if Richard was in this situation, what would Richard do? Because I fucking know. Like I know what Richard would say. Or even not even Richard, the idea of Richard. Maybe not even like what Richard represents, what Wheels to Walking represents, not even maybe what Richard would say right this very moment. Maybe Richard's feeling down. Maybe Richard's feeling lazy right now. But what would like Wheels to Walking Richard say? What would, you know what I mean? And you can kind of have that in your brain.
The idea.
It's an idea. And like, you know, it's basically you can have those in your head. Like I was even thinking about that earlier. I was like, oh, it'd be so cool to meet this person. And then I was like, I don't really need to meet them because like, what would I even say? Like, you're a big inspiration. Like, it'd be cool, but like at the same time, I already kind of, I've already gotten so much from them just from absorbing that,
Yeah, I got to meet and talk to Sean Cannell for like over an hour at Vid Summit. And he is the person who, through his programs and YouTube videos, has pretty much taught me how to do all of YouTube, at least like all the back end stuff of YouTube,
Yeah,
and
for
like,
sure.
like a lot to do. I would not be this far advanced if I didn't have Sean Cannell's program. And I remember I met him and I was like, hey, dude, I want to let you know I'm a VRA member. I really love what you're up to. I love what you're doing. I really like this other thing you did with that one person. What's up? And it was cool, man. We had a cool conversation. It lasted 20, 30 minutes. He took a picture with me. That's that. I saw him later in the day, and I was like, hey, man, I'm thinking about going to your talk. Are you talking about anything new? And he's like, nah, if you've taken my courses, you've already heard it. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I'll go check out someone else then. And it was kind of neat because I was thinking to myself, like, no, that was a really cool, like, interaction. Like, I got to meet someone.
I like how he said no, too. He's like, nah, you don't need to go. Like, everything that I'm going to talk about on stage, like, you definitely already know.
He's like, if you've gone through the program, you definitely know it. He's like, it's going to be nothing new. But I thought it was cool, man, because, like, I got to meet someone who I learned from and who I've looked up to and who I follow, and I got to say what's up. But if I hadn't have got to say what's up, he still would have been just as impactful. If anything, it could have been the potential of a bad experience where
Totally.
he could have been like, sorry, man, I'm busy. I can't talk to you right now. Like, he could have been a dickhead about it. You never know. Like, and
Don't meet your heroes, bro. They'll always let you down.
I don't know, man. I mean, I think about when we met Jimmy. Like, we bumped into Mr. Beast, and the dude was like he was eating dinner, first of all, so we probably shouldn't have approached him while he was eating dinner.
That was a kind of fucked up thing. But it was also in the middle of the social hour, and he was in the area where everyone's hanging out. So it wasn't like we saw him at fucking Tao and like ran up on him and like while he was eating dinner with his family. It was
a huge open social area. It's like when you met Frono's photo. He was like, "Oh, hi, thanks."
Yeah, and oh, that guy was kind of a dick, but whatever.
Yeah, or like when we met, and Jimmy wasn't an asshole. He was just like,
super
in
awkward.
his head. It was like in his head he was thinking, "I'm eating. Why are these people talking to me?" And like that's rightfully so. I probably would have thought the same thing, but it's like that definitely changed my perception of Jimmy a little bit. I'm like, I don't know, man. Maybe
he's also like
who
18
knows?
or something, or like 20.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, he's a young dude, but his buddy Jordy picked it up real nice. He was just like like asking us cool questions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
On the other end of that, it's going to be really cool for you. For me, it is when you have people coming up to you and saying, hey, I follow you on X, Y, and Z. I've had it happen twice, and it happened both last year at an airport, both times. One was Houston, and the other one, I believe, was Phoenix. I think it was.
It always
Phoenix.
happens in the weirdest places too, right? Like it always catches you out of nowhere.
At Monster Jam, someone came up to me. At freaking Monster Jam, some kid, he's like, "I'm a student at Georgia Tech. I totally don't use a wheelchair, but I love your videos, dude. They're cool."
They're like, "Hey, wait, you're Jesi Stracham, right?"
Stracham.
And I'm like,
Jesi Stracham.
I'm like, hey, scratch and sniff.
Scratch and sniff my butt.
Oh my god, that's
I'd
amazing.
be careful. When people scratch and sniff my butt, you know what that leads to? How do you poop?
Yeah.
Oh, you don't know
there's
that
poop in
story.
my hand now. No, I'm just kidding.
My first time getting waxed after I got paralyzed.
Oh god.
The girl and I are talking about how I go to the bathroom, and I was like, yeah, I stick a tube in to go pee, and I'm rolling over. And she's like, well, how do you poop? And she puts the wax on. And before I can even say anything, she's like, oh, you're pooping right now. And I'm like, what? I'm pooping now. And she goes, yeah. And then pulls her hands up. Oh, I just threw my phone down. Pulls her hands up with both hands like this. And the poop is in her hands. And she says, what do I do with it? I said, go put it in the toilet. I don't know.
Oh my gosh, she had shit in her hands. That's so funny.
Oh my god.
She literally, but the thing is, she had them in both of her hands. And like, just imagine this waxing girl with her gloves on.
This has never happened before.
What do I do with it? And she literally puts her hands like this.
Like, you're gonna take it from her?
And I'm like,
You're like, let me put it in my purse real fast. Let me just grab it.
Yeah, let me just fucking, I save all my shit.
that's a sample for the doctors.
Yeah.
They're going to see if there's things in there that are causing my spinal cord to not work.
Jeez Louise.
That's so funny. Oh my god. Yeah, one time someone came up to me. I was at a rave, and I was at I was like walking in like the front row, and some guy's like, "Yo, is your name Andrew?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Dude, I listen to your podcast all the time." And I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like, that's amazing.
Coolest
so
feeling
cool.
though, right? Because it's
That's
like
the
people
shit.
are listening to what you're saying, right? They appreciate your work. They're appreciating what you put out there, and it's
Totally.
like, I'm making a difference. It's the coolest feeling ever. And so like for these big stars, you know, it might get redundant that, oh, another person's coming up to me and I'm eating. But at the same time, they're like, man, this is cool as shit.
I think with the internet, people have gotten more. I think on some regards they've gotten less respectful, and on some regards they've gotten more respectful, because I think because of like podcasts and things, you start to embody how these people feel about that type of stuff.
You're
and
more
I think like
approachable.
especially if you live in like LA or something, you're used to it and you kind of understand the culture of like giving people their distance and like, oh, this guy's a celebrity, but he's also just a person. But, you know, if you're in the middle, you know, especially here in like the, you know, if you're like the suburbs of Atlanta or whatever, and like Usher's in the mall, everyone's freaking trying to take pictures with them and all this shit. Cause like, it's so it's so novel that like, holy shit. And also the other weird thing is everyone's trying to like clout chase on them sort of. Cause it's like, oh, there's my lottery ticket. I'm going to take a selfie with him, and then he's going to repost it on his story, and then I'm going to get followers because of that, and then blah, 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 blah. People are like chasing this weird thing, and it's like almost like take this idea down the path a little bit. What's really going to happen if you ask for a selfie? Like, you could ask for like a selfie and it's fine. You could have a bad reaction, or you could just walk up and like talk to them for a couple of minutes, and that would probably be a more meaningful reaction than like, oh, dude, I love your stuff. Can I take a picture? And then fucking leaving. You know what I mean? I think people appreciate an actual meaningful interaction more than just a picture.
Being a human being, it's like, since I've rebranded, so when I first got paralyzed, I was Stracham820 on everything. That was my racing number. That's who I was. And then I rebranded to Jesi Stracham. And my really close friends, they're like, there's such a big difference between Jesi Stracham and just Jesi. And I feel that celebrities are the same. You know, there's a difference between, for example, Kevin Hart and just Kevin, or Usher. Like, there's a difference between that performer and the person. And I think that gets lost a lot of times. People expect the celebrity to be that full name when in reality,
Yeah, they need to be like
they're
their
just a
on-camera
person.
personality all the time. They need to be on all the
lot
time.
of people probably think I'm Wheels to Walking 24/7. A lot of people probably think I'm the on-camera Wheels to Walking, and then they meet me in real life and they're like, "Yo, dude, you're so different." I'm like,
I think
yeah.
podcast listeners would know the real you.
Yeah, podcast listeners are so much different, but I love podcast people so much. Like, podcast people are my favorite, and what's also cool to think about too, and well, first of all, I'll get it. Hold on. Okay, so I think it's cool is to remember that there's also like a silent majority too. Like, I think about all the people that have seriously impacted my life that I consume all the time that I have never, ever messaged, text, email, commented. I've done jack shit, but like, I will do any and everything that person is about. And, you know, like, it's cool to be in your own right some type of thought leader. It's cool to be innovative in some way. And I think about, like, even Andrew, like, you've had people come up to you because of your Snapchat stories. Like, you've had people like run up on you, like, and be like, "Hey, you're Andrew Deitch. I watch your Snapchat stories." And
At
you're
music
like,
festivals
"Huh?"
a lot, yeah.
Yeah, they'll like bust in and you're like, "I don't even know who you are." You know,
Dude,
like,
there was this one guy that
the Irish dude, right?
that was a weird one, but there was another guy. That one was weird because I really didn't know this guy. There was another one that was so funny. Skrillex did a Snapchat story, and there was a guy in the audience that had one of the little totems, like a little sign, and the sign had a guy's Snapchat code on it. I'm like, oh, I should add that guy just to see. It would be funny. And I added him, and he added me back, and he's from like he was playing in like the Dominican Republic or some shit. And his name on Snapchat was like Wonka. And he was this weird guy. He barely spoke English, whatever. But we like followed each other on Snapchat because I added him on that Skrillex Snap story. And then like a year and a half later, he sees me at EDC Orlando and like runs up on me and is like, "Oh my God, it's Andrew Dice, blah, 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 blah." Like he was like freaking out, like speaking Spanish and stuff. And I'm just like, "Holy
That's
shit,
awesome.
who is this guy?" And then I'm like, "Oh, it's Wonka. It's the fucking guy." And it's so weird. Like the internet is so strange because I literally just added him randomly because I thought it would be funny. And then like now, whatever. It's fun. It's so weird.
I love how people don't have names anymore.
Yeah, it's
usernames. Like Richard, I had to add him in my phone as Wheels to Walking too. Like I had to put that under company because I found myself, because I messaged so much on Instagram that when I go into my text, I'm like,
Wheels.
Yeah, like when I made that video for the Don't Rush challenge, I was texting it to all the girls and I'm like texting in, "Hey Sabrina Faith," and I'm like, "Oh, wait, this is a text message."
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know me as Richard. There's a lot of people that just know me as Wheels to Walking.
Wheels
and
to
it's like I'm like that's not who I am. That's my company. But yes, you can call me Wheels to Walking.
Branded.
Yeah, exactly. It's almost, if you think about it, like for too long, it's almost kind of like dystopian, like Black Mirror type shit. Like we're relegated to a fucking username, but also at the same time, it's cool because the name that your parents chose arbitrarily at birth like no longer kind of matters. It's like, whatever your
And
online presence
usernames are
is more
so
important,
unique,
kind of.
man.
Yeah, they can be for sure. I mean, I think it's weird, but it can be cool. And I think also I had a weird dream the other night where I was at the grocery store and everyone was like panic buying and all this shit, and like they kept like restocking things, so people were like running out of the line to like go get stuff, and people were cutting me and I had to yell at a lady. It was a weird ass dream. And then I remember when I got to the register, they asked me for my social credit card, and I'm like, "What?" And they're like, "Your social credit score. We need to make sure that you're a good person before you're allowed to buy from here," or some shit like that. And I was like, "What?" And the
Like
lady in front of me was like, "You don't have your
now.
social credit card?" And I'm like, "No." And they're like, "Oh, well, give us this information. We'll look you up and we'll provide you with one." It was so weird. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, it's come to this." And then I woke up and I'm like, "Oh my God, it was just a dream." But it was so weird because it was like, it was so strange. But I'm like, "Oh yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense." So
It's conspiracy theories again. Look, your dreams are conspiracy theories.
Dreams are wild, man. Dreams are one of those things it's literally just your brain trying to end stories that you've experienced throughout the day, but in their own way. Like,
Wild way.
it'll just be like, "All right, Richard, you saw a guy wearing a green hat today, and then you thought to yourself, that's interesting. So therefore tonight, there's going to be a story about how there's a man with a green hat who's trying to pay you dollars to touch your butt." And you're like, "Huh? When did that happen?" Like,
Do you use your wheelchair in your dreams?
I don't know. So for the most part, I don't really dream. And if I do, I sure shit don't remember it. But I think in my dreams, I don't recall pushing a wheelchair around. But then again, my wheelchair is already such a second part of me already. I don't even really notice I'm pushing it around even right now. Like I'm just kind of just.
Right, it's life. Like, this is who we are.
Yeah, it's
Do
just,
you
it's just
have
who
that,
I
Jesse?
am.
Yeah, I start paralyzed, and always by the end, like halfway through the dream, I'm using my wheelchair as a walker, and it has a higher back, so I'm like using it that way, and then I'm walking like normal by the end of the dream. But then I'm like, "Oh, I need my wheelchair," and I'm like always going, "I need my wheelchair, I need my wheelchair," as I'm walking.
That's
But
so
I always
funny.
start.
That gets me so stoked.
I think I was watching an AMA with someone that was a wheelchair user, and they were talking about it. I feel like I've heard this question a couple times, and some people say like in dreams, a lot of times you don't really walk; you almost kind of like float around. So like a lot of people don't realize that they know. They're like, if I am using the wheelchair, I'm not like thinking about it, but that's almost kind of like in my daily life, I'm not using my wheelchair. I'm using my wheelchair, but I'm not thinking about it. Same thing with like, in your dream last night, what color shirt were you wearing? It's like, I don't fucking know. I didn't go look down at my shirt. Have you guys ever done lucid dreaming before? Like, were you?
I've tried, and I don't remember the results, except for I remember one thing where it's like, if you're lucid dreaming, the only way to stay lucid dreaming is to not be aware that you're lucid dreaming. Because the second
you have
you become
to be aware that you're lucid dreaming, and then you have
That's
to
what I'm saying.
consciously not wake up.
That's right. You have to be aware.
Oh,
but one of the
yeah.
things I remember is like
That's the whole thing about lucid is it's happening.
in your dream, if you are like, oh, I'm dreaming, a way that you can ground yourself is in your dream, you rub your hands together. Like in your dream, you imagine like rubbing your hands together, and it's like, and it puts you right back into that place. But I remember there's so many tricks where it's like you wake up at like 5:30 and then the sun starts to rise and you're awake for 30 minutes and then you go back to sleep and then immediately it kicks you into a lucid dream because your brain is giving you all of the wake up drugs because it saw the sun. It's like, oh, hey, circadian rhythm, time to wake up. But then you fall back asleep. So then you have these really, really vivid dreams.
Yeah, I've only been able to lucid dream when I'm napping. Like if I'm intentionally trying to do it.
You nap?
I used to like try to do it when I was in high school. I like wanted to try it. And so the best way to do it is by just like napping. And then you got to have like the best way is to have like an intention set for it. So like once you realize you're in the lucid dream, you're like, oh shit, I'm in a dream. Now what? So if you already kind of have an idea of what you want to do, like maybe you want to go fly and you just like fly around town, or maybe you want to like go meet someone cool that you've always wanted to meet, or maybe you wanted to do this thing or whatever. It's pretty crazy. I've only been able to successfully do it like a few times, but it's pretty fun. It's like it's weird. It's literally like you're like almost like tripping on like psychedelics, but you're just like dreaming because your brain is literally like dumping weird drugs into your head.
Jesse, did you say that you get murdered?
I always have dreams I get murdered. Yeah, always.
Really?
I'm always running from a murderer, or for the most part, if I remember my dreams, it's because somebody broke into the house. It always typically starts this way. Somebody breaks in the house. I hear a gunshot. They get my mom on the couch first. They go up and get my dad. And then they come down. They come in the back door, go straight down, go to my sister's room. And I'm like, shit, how am I going to hide in my wheelchair? So I like sneak out while he's like going to my sister's room. And I go out, go up my lift, and then it always ends from there. It's wild. Like
That's
I'm always
weird.
running
I
from a murderer.
always have dreams where I kill Jesi Stracham. It's so weird.
You're the one. You're my murderer.
I have dreams of like choking or drowning, or the worst dream is the driving in a car and your brakes don't work dream.
Oh,
when you're going down.
Is that a guy thing?
When you're
I've never
going
had
down
that
here really
dream.
fast and you're slamming on your brakes and you're slamming on your brakes, but you're not slowing down. Also, another one is when your teeth get like ripped out or crushed or bashed or like they disintegrate. Like
I've never had
What
falling
kind
out.
of dreams are you having? Gee.
Well, first of all, I grind my teeth in my sleep, so that's one of the things. Another one is I've got sleep apnea, so I am choking on myself sometimes. And the third one I think is just like sometimes a loss of control, where it's like I just grip, like in real life I just grip onto control so much that like in the dream the way that my subconscious makes me let go of it is by putting me in a car and basically being like, hey, this is going down a hill fast and you can't stop, enjoy crashing, like.
That's me with falling. I have falling dreams a lot.
You think I would have falling dreams because that's how I got paralyzed, but I don't. I'm not even afraid of heights. Like I just
Seems like
I don't necessarily.
He's afraid of roller coasters.
Yeah, he is
that's
afraid
true.
of. He's not even like afraid of them. Like he will like physically like.
No, so this is what happens, right? So
Piece so bad.
I know, me too.
And
I
we
was
have to
thinking the
wrap
same
this
thing.
up, but yeah,
we gotta wrap it up.
keep
Yeah,
going.
my panic system turns on and off at its own will. I have no control over my panic system. So it's like when I go on like a carnival ride, or I have a panic attack like that, and it doesn't go away. Like I fucking hate shit like that because it just like moves my organs around and makes my I haven't jumped, run,
in your guts.
I haven't jumped, run, skipped, tripped. Like I haven't done anything to make my body like wail around in that way. I just sit and I waddle around. You know what I mean? Like no thing has caused my body to like
But you like going fast in a car.
I love going fast.
As
in
long as
cars.
I'm driving the car. If someone else is driving it kind of like makes me freak out a little bit.
Weird.
It's that control thing.
Yeah, probably.
I could drive with lunch money, but he never went over highway speed. He was always under, like, even though it was like 0
yeah,
to
I
80
guess so.
in like
Yeah, not highway
2 or
speed.
3
Yeah,
seconds.
you're right.
Yeah, it was
just the pure
never
acceleration.
which was dope. I liked that.
Yeah. Okay, let's wrap this thing up. Jesse,
All right,
where can
cool.
people
So-
follow you?
Oh, hey, people can follow me Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, JesiStracham.com. It's JesiStracham everywhere.
So it's
and
not
where can they buy
J-E,
your
it's-
Jesi Stracham scratch and sniffs?
Oh, they can get the scratch and sniffs from the web. JesiStracham.com/shop. Check me out on Pornhub.
Damn it. Yo, if you're a girl who wants some dope workout gear, some like crop top long sleeves and like some leggings, I saw them on an able-bodied person and I was like, damn.
They make every able-bodied chick's butt look.
Maybe I need to get some.
Oh, you do for sure. You would. Oh boy.
Andrew got a trunk. Damn. All right, guys. So
I got
follow
more
us
than
on
a
places.
caboose. I got the whole damn train.
All right, you guys know where to find me. You guys know where to find Andrew. So we're just gonna end it.
Follow us on places.
Bye.
Bye.
Follow us on places.
Bye.
Bye.